And in terms of design, I think what you guys are doing is setting yourself apart in terms of really authentic, hyper-local design. How do you research and develop and find design that really reflects the town and also the university? And how do they each, I mean, I know each one's different, but like, what's the difference between an Oxford and say a Madison or Ann Arbor?
Sure. Well, when we first started this, one of the things that we realized is that most of the hotel product in these communities was very lackluster. It was pretty much dominated by a lot of the select service and limited service brands, which are all good at what they do.
Right.
But when people come to these markets, they're coming for oftentimes very emotionally charged reasons. Maybe they're alumni coming back to town. Maybe they're coming for a sporting event. They're coming with their son or daughter to drop them off for school or to visit them while they're in school. And then the hotels just didn't reflect the energy and the youthful optimism of these communities. And so we saw that as the opportunity first and foremost. And part of what we want to do is engage the local community. And so we do that through having very active lobby spaces and food and beverage venues that will draw locals to the property. And with that, we want to engage that community. We also want to tell that community's story. And we use interior design to do that. So our interior design and our creative design team, led by Andrew Alford, who's our chief creative officer, they do a great job of doing a lot of research into the history and the culture, not only of the school, but also the town itself. Each one of these towns, these communities are very distinct and very different. They have their own culture, their own history, and very proud of it. And so what we're trying to do is express that story and that culture through our interior design. So there's a lot of research that goes into it. They spend a lot of time in the markets, sitting at the dive bars or going to the thrift stops, talking to people, locals, and hearing the stories, and then finding a way to, in not a very literal way, but in a more subtle way, to express those stories and history so that when our hotel guests come to town, they feel like they're part of the community. We want them to wake up and know that they're in Tempe, Arizona, or Ann Arbor, Michigan, as opposed to some of the major brands who want you to wake up and know that they're in a Marriott or a Hilton. So for us, to get to your question about how are they different, when you look at all of our hotels together, they all share the same DNA or ethos. They all look like they belong in the same collection, but then they all look vastly different. And some people scratch their head when they hear that, like, well, how can that be? And our creative design team has really found a way to do that. And so what they'll do in Ann Arbor Mission, because it's a more storied and an older university, it's a little more staid community. We did our lobby. There's a massive lobby, 2-story lobby. So it looks like something almost out of a Harry Potter movie. And it's really kind of paying homage to the law school at the University of Michigan. They have a very iconic law library. And so long communal tables, study tables, so we kind of mimic something like that. But it's very kind of old school in that respect. Down in Oxford, Mississippi, it's very Southern preppy. This is traditional, classic Southern culture. So in that case, where we built that hotel, we had about a 3,000 square foot lobby, sort of very big lobby, a lot of communal seating, soft seating. And to set that place apart, we actually did the entire floor is 3,000 square feet of pink washed oak floor. So we have a pink floored lobby in Oxford, Mississippi. Again, trying to express that Southern preppy culture that Old Miss is famous for.
Right. And I love that you guys too don't focus on the obvious. You go that one layer down to find something that can really resonate with people that live there.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's telling the story or focusing some attention on maybe famous people who grew up in the community or went to school there. One of the kind of fun things we do is our key cards look like student IDs. And so we find old college photos, yearbook photos of people who went to school there, and people might note, sometimes they're friends of our company and they're not necessarily famous, but they're, so there's some hidden jokes in there. But at the end of the day, it's not only for the famous people who grew up there or went to school there, but sometimes the infamous.
Right.
In Madison, Wisconsin, there's a homeless gentleman who lives on State Street, and they call him Scanner Dan. And he sits on a park bench, he's got a police scanner, and that's all he does all day long is he listens to the police scanner and he berates everyone who walks by. So we actually had a portrait done of Scanner Dan, and that's featured in every single one of our guest rooms at our Madison property.
That's really cool.